You think her past doesn't matter? That her body count, her exes, her baggage, her trauma are just dust swept under the rug? Wrong. Dead wrong. What she did before you will shape what she does to you, and if you ignore that, you're walking straight into the slaughterhouse. Since boyhood, men are fed lies. Teachers, influencers, dating gurus, all repeat the same poison. Don't judge her past. Only care about who she is now. But here's the reality no one dares say out loud. Her past is her present. Every drunk mistake, every breakup, every fling in the dark left fingerprints on her psyche. Her brain isn't the same. Her wiring isn't the same. And you, if you're foolish enough to believe the lie, will pay the price. Pair bonding isn't romance. It's biology. It's chemistry. And like any mechanism, it corrodes with overuse. Studies prove it. Women with multiple partners are far more likely to cheat, to divorce, to walk away. 10 partners or more. Divorce risk explodes by over 80%. Why? Because oxytocin, the glue that bonds her to a man, burns out with repetition. The 20th bond isn't like the first. It's weaker, duller, flimsy. Imagine taping paper together, then ripping it apart again and again. Eventually, the tape doesn't stick. But don't think it ends with hormones. Her past exes are ghosts that haunt your relationship. You're compared in bed, in status, in how you make her feel. That's why she throws her ex in your face during an argument. It's her way of reminding you, you're not the only one. And trauma? Trauma multiplies. If she was cheated on, she'll accuse you. If she loved a bad boy, she'll crave chaos even while pretending she wants stability. You inherit her scars, but you're blamed for reopening them. You don't get a clean slate. You get the wreckage. The lie men swallow today is that experience makes her better. They'll tell you she knows what she wants now. That she's more mature. That's propaganda. The truth? The more men she's had, the harder it is for her to bond with anyone. Every hookup left a mark. Every lover rewired her cravings. Her attachment system isn't matured, it's broken. Think of her brain like a drug addict's. Dopamine, the pleasure chemical, spikes with every new man. But the more she chases novelty, the more numb she becomes. That's why she gets bored fast. Why stability feels like suffocation. Why she secretly craves chaos and drama, even when she swears she wants peace. She's not wired for consistency anymore. She's wired for destruction. And don't forget memory. Every man she gave herself to left a shadow. Not just in her body, but in her mind. The thrill, the chase, the drama, she keeps that catalogued. And when you fail to deliver the same cocktail of danger and excitement, she starts whispering the question that destroys men: did I settle? That's the trap. That's the game. Society tells you her past doesn't matter, but they're not protecting her, they're disarming you. Men who believe the lie are the ones who wake up years later gutted, drained, blindsided. Because here's the brutal truth, you're not dating who she is. You're dating who she's become. And if her past is chaos, then chaos is your future. Here's the reality most men can't stomach: you are not special. You're not the exception. You're just the next man in line trying to tame instincts that have already been rewired by years of chaos. And the more you convince yourself you'll be different, the harder the fall when she proves you wrong. Look closely at her behavior. A woman's past doesn't whisper, it screams. High body count. Watch how quickly she loses interest once the novelty fades. Multiple exes? Notice how easily she detaches when things get hard. History of toxic relationships? Guess what, you're next in line for the same circus. Men want to believe they'll be the cure. Reality check, you're just another dose of the same drug she's been overdosing on for years. Society has created a trap where men are shamed for even asking about a woman's past. The script is always the same: don't be insecure. Real men don't care about body count. Only weak men ask questions. Wrong. Weak men ignore the truth. Strong men demand it. Because ignoring her past doesn't make you secure, it makes you blind. Think about it. A woman who's had dozens of lovers isn't bringing experience into your life. She's bringing a Rolodex of comparisons. She's stacking you up against every man who came before. Every ex, every fling, every one-night stand becomes your silent competition. And the truth? You'll never measure up. Not because you're weak, but because her brain isn't capable of being satisfied by one man anymore. That's why so many modern men end up as placeholders. You're the stability she settles for when the chaos burns her out. But deep down, she still craves it. She still scrolls through old photos. She still remembers the guy who blew her back out in college. She still dreams about the wildness she once had, and you will never be enough to erase that ghost. And when that itch comes back, when her dopamine-starved brain starts screaming for novelty, that's when she starts sabotaging, picking fights out of nowhere, claiming she feels unfulfilled, accusing you of not being man enough, and finally, stepping out. That's how men get blindsided by affairs they never saw coming. Listen closely, modern relationships aren't collapsing because men changed. They're collapsing because women's wiring has been fried by their own pasts, and men are being fed the lie that it doesn't matter. But it does. It matters more than anything. So the choice is yours. You can keep pretending her past is irrelevant, play the nice guy, and walk smiling into the slaughterhouse. Or you can open your eyes, embrace the ugly truth, and protect yourself from being the next victim. Because at the end of the day, her past doesn't just shape her, it destroys men who ignore it. You want a strategy? Stop romanticizing ignorance. Treat courtship like reconnaissance. Learn how to spot the patterns before you hand someone the keys to your life. Ask direct questions. Watch how she answers under pressure. Observe how she talks about exes. Does she own her part or only point fingers? Notice how she reacts when plans go wrong: blame, deflection, or accountability. Those are not stormy moments to romanticize, they are data points. Vet the history without acting like an interrogator. Dates that won't reveal basic relationship history are a red flag. Repeated inconsistencies in stories, defensive silence about choices, and a habit of weaponizing old trauma as justification for current disrespect, those are all signs that you're entering a life cycle, not a partnership. Make boundaries non-negotiable. If she refuses to respect them, don't bargain for respect, remove yourself. Don't confuse flirtation for loyalty. Don't confuse apology for change. A sincere apology is followed by different behavior, not a better excuse. Test for follow-through. If she says she wants stability, give small tests of stability and watch whether she values them. If she craves chaos, don't be surprised when chaos is what she brings. The difference between fantasy and reality shows up in the day-to-day habits, not the weekend photo dumps. Finally, protect your life like an asset. Financial transparency, emotional consistency, and mutual accountability are not romantic killers, they are survival essentials. Be ruthless about what you tolerate. You don't need to be cruel, you need to be careful. If something smells like history repeating, assume the pattern will repeat and plan accordingly. Here's the reality: relationships are not love stories. They're power dynamics wrapped in romance. Every word, every action, every secret test is about leverage. If you ignore that, you'll get crushed. Men fail because they operate on feelings. Women test because they operate on instincts. She'll test your boundaries, your patience, your standards. Not once. Not twice. Constantly. Why? Because if you fold, she knows you're not strong enough to lead. That's when respect dies, and once respect is gone, attraction follows. Stop chasing validation. Stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to convince anyone why you're different. If she doesn't see it, you're already finished. Respect is earned by action, not speeches. The man who stands silent in the face of drama commands more power than the man who shouts explanations. Another brutal truth: women don't leave at the breaking point. They leave at the preparation point. By the time she tells you she's unhappy, she's already rehearsed the speech, secured her exit, maybe even lined up the replacement. That's why blindsided men look like fools. They thought things were fine because they ignored the quiet signs of withdrawal: shorter texts, less affection, sudden, busy weekends. Your job isn't to beg for answers. It's to read the field like a strategist. If her energy shifts, if her consistency cracks, you don't panic, you prepare. Keep your finances separate. Keep your frame tight. Keep your options open. Because if she decides to walk, you don't want to be the man left gutted, drained, and empty. And here's the final knife twist most men never accept: loyalty isn't promised. It's conditional. Conditional on how she feels, conditional on what you provide, conditional on whether the ghosts of her past still whisper in her ear. That's why you don't gamble everything on the illusion of forever. Forever doesn't exist. Discipline does. Standards do. Boundaries do. The man who survives modern relationships isn't the man who loves blindly. He's the man who moves like a predator, aware, strategic, impossible to corner. Everyone else? Just prey, waiting for the axe. Here's what men refuse to admit: most relationships don't collapse because of some sudden betrayal. They rot from the inside out. Silent disrespect grows like mold. Little lies become daily habits. She pulls away piece by piece until the day she decides to leave, and by then, you're already nothing but a placeholder she's been tolerating. The warning signs? They're always there. When her phone becomes her lifeline and you're just background noise. When intimacy feels like a chore instead of desire. When she argues for the sake of drama, not resolution. These aren't rough patches. They're cracks in the foundation. Ignore them, and the collapse is guaranteed. And make no mistake, when she leaves, it's never clean. You don't just lose her, you lose time, money, energy, focus. You lose momentum in your mission because you invested in someone who was never fully invested in you. That's why men end up bitter, broken, empty. They gambled their empire on a shaky foundation and watched it burn. So what's the counter? Ruthless self-preservation. You don't give away power, you measure it. You don't collapse your standards for affection, you enforce them like law. You don't beg for loyalty, you demand consistency, and when it breaks, you walk before she does. The man who leaves first leaves with his dignity intact. Because here's the harshest truth of all: relationships are not built on love, they're built on leverage. The one who needs the other less has the power. The one who walks away first writes the ending. That's the game. That's the battlefield. And men who don't understand it end up casualties.